Good morning, ladies. How are you? I am hopping on here briefly this morning because I do have a doctor's appointment that I have to get to, but I have got a little time that I can jump on here instead of making just a simple little boring post. So I'll just kind of wait. I'll let this load, but yesterday was just a day out of nowhere. So let's see, today's Wednesday. So I told you Monday we were supposed to get, no, what is today? Yes, today is Wednesday. Yes. Monday we were supposed to get the polls. Wade went and looked at them to make sure that they looked good. Yes, they were good, so delivery was set up for yesterday. So they didn't get here yesterday until after 1 o'clock. 1:20 to be exact is when they started unloading the polls. So anyway, we're just building. I say just, but this is supposed to be a small gazebo. It's, what is it? Just little over like the size of a horse stall, like a 16 by 12 or something. And the poles are 8 by 8s. They're big, beefy, meaty poles. There's already a foundation there that's made out of pavers. So when Wade met up with the guy and everything, he's just like, yeah, it's just, Wade's like, oh yeah, they usually only have 4 or 5 inches of paver. What is it? Paver sand or whatever it is that you put down before you put down the paver. So piece of cake, we'll just go in there. We'll do what we got to do because the guy wants it not outside the pavers, but kind of in each of the corners. And then, whatever. Anyway, that's just what we're doing. So y'all, guess how deep that paver compression was, or packed sand. It was as tall as my knee to my foot. So it was about this deep. They had packed it and packed it. So I thought it was concrete. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is concrete. Because, I'm just trying to like loosen it up so we can get the auger in there to dig the holes. And I'm like, baby, I think this is concrete. He goes, no, it's just paver base. And y'all, we had to come home and get the jackhammer to get through it. So we spent 5.5 hours yesterday chunking up concrete, which was supposed to be sand. So they didn't even put the paver sand. It was concrete, then paver sand. So strangely done, but whatever. So that wasn't even part of our initial intention when we bid this job out. So we spent that many hours. I'm talking, after you crunch up the concrete, you got to move it out of your way. So then we had to get the tractor, load up it was such a heavy laden manual day. I came home, we got home about 5, a little before 5. And I was physically spent. I mean, even toward like a little, and plus there's this big wildfire burning just west of where we're working. And so there's smoke coming in, and I'm telling you, my leg said, I'm done. And I literally was like, wait, I don't think my legs can move anymore. I have toted so much concrete, and, it was such an awkward day. And towards the end of the afternoon, we were just so spent. Then anyway, so I just wanted to, every now and then you just get one of those days. What I'm grateful for is my meal preparation in that time, because I was so tired when I got home. I didn't even care if we ate or if we did not eat. But because I had pre-planned what I had laid out to eat, it just was easy to just grab it. And all I had was a chaffle with a boiled egg on it, because that's all I could muster up the strength to chew. Y'all, I'm 56. Today's my last day of being 56. And I'm like, y'all, that was a hard day. I'm not going to lie. Mentally, physically, and then towards the end emotionally, because I was so tired. I just wanted to just eat something quick and go. So I'm so grateful to take the time to make a plan with my food when I'm trying to make changes. So leading into this morning's devotional, I'm kind of like a day behind because I didn't get to go live yesterday. So today's devotion was talking about boundaries. And I think I've kind of hit on this a little bit in the beginning, talking about I'm not a big I don't like to eliminate a food group. However, there are certain foods, packaged, boxed, bagged, processed foods that we should not be eating anyway. Yes, those have to be eliminated. But I don't take out like fats or carbs or anything, because our bodies were created to need those in order to be chemically balanced and for our body to create energy for us to live. And so she was talking about boundaries. And when she had created her eating plan, she said, this is the things that I want to eat. And when something comes up and there's that temptation that's out of my eating plan, the boundaries she set, she has to honor, not just as a forever forbidden food, but for a right now forbidden food. You know, and she shared her story about her dog having surgery, and you know how we always put those cone of shames on them for their own benefit, because they don't know that they can't pick at their bandage or lick at their wound or their sutures or whatever. Same for us. If we know that it's a stumbling point for us in anything, scrolling Bible websites, scrolling stationary websites, scrolling, just anything that may be your stumbling block within this study that we're doing, food, removing that is crucial, and having your backup as it's not a forever thing. Well, for me, alcohol is a forever thing because I don't have moderation, but that's just something that comes with maturity, I think, and wisdom as you walk through, with the Lord, and as he grows you, he lays upon your heart, this is not something that you can partake in. So he will do that with you also in whatever avenue you're struggling in. But so the boundary thing I thought was a great reminder, because I don't want to get on here and say, oh, well, you can never eat carbs again, or you probably should never have that. It's just in this time that we're trying to make these adjustments in our sale, we really need to just refrain from that and focus on the things that you can have, and be creative in that aspect. What can I make out of this food that I have chosen to be my go-to? What can I plan around that? And just for instance, this past week I knew that we'd be working, so I got some sliced chicken breast from the deli. Wade is just a ham guy, so I had to get him his ham. He likes tavern ham. He'll eat it every single day of his life if I didn't give him something different. But and then I got little square cheeses, the little cheeses that are already cut, so I don't have to mess with that. And I like salami. It's a little salty, but we sweat our tails off when we're working, so I think forward also for that. And I personally just make little wraps without a wrap. I just use the salami, the cheese, and the little piece of chicken, and I have a little thing, and then I make him that. So that's kind of something that we've planned ahead for. Boiled eggs, I always have those on hand. I just got my beef sticks in so that those are easy to grab. Just something, because in the midst of working, we normally don't take a big break. We just enough to eat, inhale, drink some water, and then go back to work. But easy grab things for in that moment where if you have long enough to think about it, you'll start thinking about things that are in your cabinet that you might want to go to and grab, and just in that state of feeling and emotion can wreck that day for you. And so I just always try to have things like that. I made chaffles, and I forgot to put the recipe, but it's just nothing but like cheese, eggs, some seasoning, and a little, I'll have to put the thing, because you just make it in a little waffle iron. It's about this big. And so last night I had that with a boiled egg sliced on it, and it was perfect. It was just enough to get me through. But having that plan in place just really helps, because there's nothing more disappointing than making it all the way through your day, staying on track, and just like, gosh, this isn't as hard as I thought it was, and then wrecking it at night just because all of a sudden you're tired, you didn't plan it out, and you just know that, you know what, I'll just do better tomorrow. That is our excuse so many times. At least for me it is. I have fallen victim to that so many times. So just something to consider, that the foods that you remove now are not a forever forbidden food unless the Lord lays on your heart, this is something I want you not to eat, or this is something I don't want you to drink. I don't want you to have this website up, delete it. I don't want you to have this easy app, Etsy, delete it, because I'm so guilty of having the just getting into that little board. I'm like, oh, well, let me see what people are doing on Etsy now. What kind of little stationery or Bible tassels or just whatever. Delete the app. Out of sight, out of mind a lot of times, because sometimes we're just numbingly looking and you're like, oh yeah, let me look at that. And then that just tempts you. So that's kind of reflecting on today's, but going back to yesterday, she was talking about overindulgences. And I found this really interesting because it is overindulgence in anything is considered overindulgence. You can't point a finger and say that the person who drinks the alcohol all the time is a drunk and an alcoholic, when over here, like she said in her, I don't know if it was in the book or if it was in the devotional now, but how when we go to church socials and we have the buffet, there's always stuff on there that we should not be indulging in. So for the person who enjoys shopping and is always got their cart full, so that any day they feel like they're down, they can go to their cart, myself included, it's empty now. But I've had to remove things to get me to this point. Who can go to their cart and just because they're having a bad day or feeling less than, or just they're buying something that they've already put away that for that rainy day, I'm going to get that. That's an overindulgence of maybe their budget. So this can be applied to anything, this overindulgence. And so I'll just give you a couple little touches on. And she says, one of the bad things is that you never hear preachers preaching about gluttony, even though it's scripture, it's in the Bible as something to not partake in. A lot of the preachers don't want to talk about it because it's one of those touchy, don't want to, tread on anybody's offensive nerve. And so a lot of preachers don't talk about it. But she says overindulgence is overindulgence. And limitless indulgence in food always has consequences. So food specifically, because it compromises our health, it diminishes our energy to pursue our calling, and affects the way we feel about ourselves. And that's just to name a few. Eating in excess is a sin. The Bible calls it gluttony, which is defined in the dictionary as excess in drinking or eating. The biblical teaching about excess drinking and eating is clear. Do not join those who drink too much wine or gorge themselves on meat, for drunkards and gluttons become poor, and drowsiness clothes them in rags. And that's Proverbs 23:20-21. And then she threw in another one. He who keeps the law is a discerning son, but a companion of gluttons disgraces his father. Proverbs 28. She says, and I doubt we'll ever see these verses in our suggested memory verse of the week Sunday school bulletin board, but they are hard verses, and this is a hard topic. I love talking about hard stuff. I love the challenge of taking on that hard thing for me. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know whether it's something I've always kind of had and I didn't realize what it was. But the more that I walk with the Lord and the more he convicts me of things, the more I'm like standing upright and go, okay, you've brought me through this. I know you'll bring me through this. I don't know what it's going to look like. But if you tell me not to eat them Ritz crackers as my Lunchable, I'm not going to eat them Ritz crackers as my Lunchable. And I will survive. And I will make it to the next whatever. So I embrace the hard. Not only that, it's because you know what? I know as a plant mom, it is really hard for me. I'm looking at one of my jade plants right now. It's really hard for me when they look so good to snip them out of their own benefit. Because if they get too lanky, their succulents and the little leaves will start drooping their stem over. And their stem isn't like a typical stem. It's a meaty stem. And so, and all it is, it's full of water. That's what succulents are. They just big succulent things of water. It's like a camel hump. But I have to prune them. And I just pruned her. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you look so bad. But she has little sprigs growing out of the top of her now. So that growth was painful for both me and her. But yet now she is growing, and her meaty stem will be stronger for that. And that's a really hard thing to grasp, to be convicted and then up to meet the challenge of getting through that conviction, because you know on the other side you're going to be stronger for it. And then she says, a starved soul. Well, I'm sorry, I skipped a part. She says she doubts that if she was to talk, have a conference speaking on gluttony, that it would be a packed house. But on the surface, it appears that we are all talking about food and the amount we consume. And in reality, there is a more serious issue at the root of gluttony. Overstuffing ourselves with food, or drinking until we get drunk, or getting wrapped up in the affections of an adulterous relationship are all desperate attempts to silence the cries of a hungry soul. There's that spiritual malnutrition reference once again. The soul is longing to be filled, and as a starved soul is like a vacuum cleaner. It ravishly sucks up anything and everything that is set before it. And that's how God created us. But he created us with a longing to be filled, with him as the installation of the filling. Just as the psalmist wrote, as the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you. And if we fail to understand how to fill our souls with spiritual nourishment, we will be triggered to numb our longings with temporary physical pleasures. So this issue is bigger than emotions. It's really about spiritual deprivation. Then she runs down, some scenarios that we might kind of give ourselves as an excuse, like my boyfriend broke up with me, so I need ice cream. This business deal fell through, so I need supersized fries. I don't feel pretty today. I need some chocolate to soothe and delight me. They say it raises your endorphins. My kids are driving me crazy. I deserve a piece of cake. I deserve 3 pieces, 1 for each child. I hate cleaning my house, and when I'm done, I'm going to treat myself to those chips as I want. It's my birthday, and I don't really think anyone cares. I'll just eat my way into happiness. She says, I realized when the desire for treats is triggered by difficult emotions, it's not really a desire for treats. It's a thinly veiled attempt at self-medication. Today is just a day that you deserve treats, Lisa. Just one day of eating whatever you want and as much as you want. But just because I've reached my goal weight in this journey and operate in a good place most of the time doesn't mean I can drop my guard and fall back into old habits. It's such a slippery slope. And I shared that the other day. That's how I would reward myself. I'd get to where I wanted to be, how I felt really good, and then I would slip and reward myself with that carrot cake from Publix because it's the best. But it would never stop at just one little slice. It would just be like, okay, here's your half and here's my half. And my half would get eaten right away because that's that gluttony part, the overindulgent part. So it's kind of a struggle that touches on all different edges. And she's saying that, I'm not saying we shouldn't allow ourselves the occasional treat. We should. But I've realized when the desire for treats is triggered by difficult emotions, it's not really a desire for the treat. So I just kind of resaid what I had said before. It's a secret, thinly veiled attempt for self-medication. And self-medicating with food even once triggers vicious cycles that I must avoid. So tomorrow being my birthday, I don't even have plans to go and get a cake from Publix. It's just not even something that I feel, usually I'll look forward to it. But right now I feel so driven to get through this month with what I'm doing in my recovery month, in my, just in my not pushing myself too much. Well, yesterday didn't count. Y'all, and let me just interrupt this for an important message. I walked 10 miles. My watch told me 10 miles, 18,800 steps. The most I've ever walked, according to my watch, was 20. And it was like the little red ring counts your calorie for the day or whatever. Over 800. And I'm like, watch, you need to forget this day happened, because the way the Apple Watch works is it kind of takes a average of what your month looks like, and that's your next month's challenge. So if I'm going to start this week, if I'm ending this week with all these steps, it's going to challenge me next month. Oh, well, look how many steps you took last month. Let's double it. And I'll be like, wait, what? Apple headquarters? No, it's not happening. So that's just something, I don't know. It's neither here nor there, but that reminded me of how much I worked yesterday. So I'm taking this month to recover from the previous 3 months. So the birthday cake really hasn't entered my mind as, I got to have it, it's my birthday. No, I'm actually thinking I'm just going to continue on and not, because I can. I got the Lord's strength guiding me, and he's directing me, and he has kept me so on track, and he's caught me so close to those Ritz crackers, but yet he prevailed me. He carried me away from that. He gave me a different thing. He convicted me, and I followed, and it worked, and I'm like, whoa. So yeah, I'm not about to just, no, I'm not going to do it. Not that I'm feeling deprived either. I want to put that out there. I don't want someone to get the wrong idea to think, well, gosh, you're not even going to do, nope, not going to do it. And I don't feel that way. I don't feel like I'm going to miss out. I can have carrot cake any day of the year because I'm an adult, and I'm not going to have one tomorrow. Okay, continue on. So God uses portion control as one of our, look, my watch is telling me to stand up, is using portion control on how to depend on him. Now, he did that back in Exodus with the Israelites. He told them, this is how I want you guys to depend on me. I brought you out of Egypt. You saw all the things that I did, yet you're still not trusting that I'm going to get you to the other side that I told you I was going to. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to provide you with food, because they were hungry. They were missing all the meat and all the stuff, the stew and the fruits and the figs and all the stuff that they had before. And so they're coming out of Egypt. They're walking around, getting ready. Originally the plan was just to go right over here. But because of their griping and crying and whining, the Lord said, oh, we're not going to do that. So I'm going to give you daily food, just enough to get you through the day. And we're going to take a journey. And the adventure began. And then the day on the 6th day, they were to gather more, twice the portion, because it was supposed to last them to the next day. That's the only time they were supposed to double it up. And it wouldn't spoil, because if they tried to take more than they needed or more than they could eat, it would rot or mold or spoil. And it's not like they could just walk out any time of day and just grab it. They had to gather it when he brought it, and then it was gone. So they had to learn portion control, just as we need to learn portion control. And so that's what he was saying, is that he used that for the Israelites every day, a valuable lesson of daily dependence on him. So when we get into these fits of emotions and feelings and we're wanting to give in, we have to remember his promise to provide for us. He will provide a way out for us when the challenge is too much for us, if we call on him. If we don't seek him, he's not going to just say, hey, wait, No, the whole part of the depending on him is seeking him in that moment, is to stopping and taking a deep breath and pausing and saying, Lord, I always have Ritz crackers in my Lunchable. What am I going to do? Oh, you're going to walk outside on the porch. You're going to take a few deep breaths. You're going to come back in, and then you're just going to eat your Lunchable without the cracker. And I did, and I didn't die. And I felt just as fulfilled. Ate a couple almonds for the crunch factor, which are on my plan. So, win-win. I sought the Lord. and I stayed on plan. And she says, I don't know about you, but if I don't want to spend the next 40 years of my life learning this lesson. I want to stop grumbling about my weight, apply this valuable training about God's dependence and portion control, and keep walking toward the victory so that the victory can be mine. And then she explains, so each day he gave the Israelites what they needed for their nourishment. Not until they felt full, not till they met their caloric intake for the day, not to have them something stored up for the next, I don't know, hour or so ahead, because they're going to be physically working and they might get a little extra hungry. What they needed in that moment was completely in the portion that he provided for them. And then the next day they would come for their next day daily portion. So she gives a suggestion for the rejections that we talked about before, like your boyfriend broke up, instead of getting the ice cream, go to God as your daily proportion and say, God, I hate this rejection and this hurt. I feel so lonely. It's going to swallow me alive, and I can't deal with it on my own. Will you be my portion of healing and companionship just for today? And he will. And so anything that you're struggling with right now, take it into that context. I want this X, Y, and Z. I don't like this feeling, Lord. I don't like the way I'm thinking. I don't like the way I'm feeling. I don't like my attitude. I need you to be X, Y, and Z for me just today. And that will be met. Whatever the situation, I keep asking God to be my daily portion, my companion, provision, patience, over and over and over. And this is Lamentations 3. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassion never fails. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And I say to myself, the Lord is my portion, therefore I will wait for him. Lamentations 3:22 through 24. So grasping that truth, that God is our portion, has the potential to transform more than just our eating habits. It can transform our responses to every aspect in life. And so just a couple of the personal reflection questions. So she says, gluttony of any kind, food, alcohol, drugs, sex, could be described as a desperate attempt to silence the cries of a hungry soul. Have you ever thought of overeating in this way, as an attempt to silence your hungry soul? How might this perspective help you gain new insight about your battles with food? And then she just says to reflect back on the story of the Israelites and their just their whining and crying, and then God stepping in and providing for them. Are you in the habit of depending on God for what you need each day to be your daily portion of companionship, provision, strength? And what manna do you long for most from God? For he satisfies the thirsty and fills the hungry with good things. That's Psalm 107:9. How do you respond to this promise? If you could ask God for one thing that would help you to feel a deep and soul-filling satisfaction, what would it be? So that was just kind of like my little reading catch-up that I wanted to share. And the only thing really from this workbook that my takeaway was just really kind of talking about the, I pretty much hit on all of them because this is so close to it. But one of the things that, it must have been someone who wrote in, but she's quoted somebody, and it says, my husband and I call it that snackish feeling. I'm not hungry, and I don't know exactly what I want. I just want to eat. Anything that's not good for me would work. Thinking of that snackish feeling as the cry of my hungry soul is eye-opening. Instead of opening my refrigerator door and looking for a snack, I need to open my Bible and look for God. So somebody named Stephanie sent that in for her. But I am so guilty of this. you know, Saturday or Sunday afternoon on the weekend, all the chores are done, all the laundry's folded. It's just like, you know, football's coming on. What can we eat and just hang out and just do this while we're eating? Doesn't have to, it's just like this, I don't know, longing to feel something. And I never thought about it just being a time to sit down, and I just was always put the two and two together. Here's football snacks, you know? And you don't know what you want because, well, in my mind, everything snacky can be football food. So what football food do I want? It has a name, the football food. It could be, gosh, I don't know, taco bites, cheesy dip, chips and salsa, beanie, or what are they called? Pigs in the blanket. I mean, anything and everything. There was no limit because there was no, I'm looking to feel something that food's never going to fill. It was a feeling, an emotion, an attachment to an event like we just talked about before. But yeah, instead of opening the refrigerator and looking for a snack, I need to open my Bible and look for God. And that was just kind of a little reminder. Like, yeah, that's a very good, something to fall back and to reflect on the next time we get those little, gosh, everything's done around the house. I'm bored. I really want to eat some. I don't know what do you want to eat? What do you want to eat? I don't know. I don't really want to know. I don't know. I could eat a frozen pizza. Love frozen pizzas. They are so bad for you. I love them. So I wanted to read this as our closing prayer. And it says that God knows you inside and out. He knows what you love and what you need. He knows how to take care of you better than you know how to take care of yourself. He also knows that this day holds in store for you, including the unexpected challenges and temptations that will come your way. And he's already out in front of you, walking his way through your day, laying down manna with your name on it, inviting you to dine richly on his love for you, his care for you, his provision for you. A lavish banquet in which God is the full portion of everything you need today. Lord, thank you so much for these words that Lisa penned out here. Help us to take these to heart, to just plant them deeply within our spirit, and just to water them and nurture them and draw for them. And as they grow, they just become our truth, what we truly believe, Lord, that will help us to grow through what we need to go through. And Lord, we just love you. We thank you for this beautiful day. And I just want all these ladies to know that I am praying for them every single morning, whatever their need is, Lord. I just pray that you will cover them for today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, ladies, I have got to go because today is pellet day. I go get my my little hormone pellets. Yeah, and then I'm going to go work in the sun. It was already scheduled. I couldn't take and reschedule it because then I'll get off track. So we'll see what today unfolds on this girl, if I can pull the ow card or not. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Gwen, thank you for jumping on here and watching. I don't see that until like the very end because I can see barely up at the top that it tells me that I'm live. So I guess my screen must be a wonky-do size. But thank you for hopping on here and hanging with me this morning. I hope you have a great day. Okay, guys, I'll see you later.